thought I'd talk about my background. I'm out hiking. Oh gosh, it's end of 2016, and I was out hiking in a forest in eastern Oklahoma with my dogs and let them settle down a little bit before I started recording. It's a beautiful warm day, about 60 degrees, with a strong south wind you can hear in the forest canopy. And I'm not sure what pathetic soul does economic videos in out hiking, but here I am doing it. So I wanted to tell my background and want to do some videos on the financial system, the economic system in the United States, as I have a background in all of that. I started my career with an accounting degree from the University of Oklahoma. I also worked on and I ended up with, I think, 33 hours, and also a lot of economics and finance. And I loved school, but I ended up with like 180 something hours, which that'd be 60 courses, 60 plus. And finally got tired of it and actually wanted to go make some money and have a job. And that's why I went into accounting. I like numbers and was real left brain and detailed and OCD, and makes for a great auditor, which I became. But also, as I got ready to leave school and go out and start a career, I looked up my hours and everything, and if I'd stayed about a year, maybe just a little bit more, 3 semesters, maybe summers, 2 full semesters in summer school, and maybe a fall semester at the most, another one, I could have got degrees in economics, finance, psychology, and sociology. So I would have had 5 bachelors, but it was just because I stayed in school and kept changing my major is why. I finally became practical and just went ahead and got an accounting degree so I could get a decent paying job. I went to public accounting and did both tax preparation and research and auditing. And you get into, it was a regional firm, so you do get into management consulting at some point as you become a manager in the firm, which I did some of that, analysis and acquisitions and that sort of thing. I ended up doing more and more tax, which I did not like, and research, and ended up the point I was, reading the Senate Finance Committee minutes and the House Ways and Means Committee minutes and all this to find the intent on certain tax issues for wealthy clients. And it's like, I did that for a while, and I'm like, I got to get back over into auditing more. They let me audit, but they kept pulling me back to tax. So anyway, I did end up in audit. That's what I like to do. And of course, in public accounting, you're auditing a variety of industries. And I became an audit manager, and that's what I did for a number of years. I was to the point to become a partner in a firm, like a regional firm, and it was a good life. I mean, you made a lot of money, but I was kind of burned out on it, and I had a chance to go to a client, an insurance company. Actually, they were indirectly a client. It just worked out, and I went over and became a CFO of a life insurance company. Back then it was called, this is a long time ago, this was called, I was a vice president of finance. Now it's a CFO. And I was rather on a daily basis the de facto president. He was gone a lot. And he gave me the power of the purse strings. I had to sign all the checks, so he wanted me to keep track of the VP of underwriting, the VP of marketing, and, keep track of control the spending. And I did that for a number of years. Then I went to a firm that exclusively did bank audits, bank directors examinations, as well as external opinion audits. We were the external bank auditors, the third-party auditors, which is with the bank as the first party and the regulators, state or federal, as the second party, and we were the third party. And I traveled all over, mostly the western U.S. to do that. and really enjoyed it. And as evidenced even from this video, I like to hike, so I was able to hike and climb the Rocky Mountains up and down those and the western U.S., and so I did that for a number of years. I jumped out for a while with a managing general insurance agency, which is basically an insurance company without a charter, and they had a nationwide property and casualty program, and I did that. I helped with that startup and was basically chief operations officer, ran the day-to-day, and we had some investors. And so I did that. Then I caught myself one day looking out the window, sitting in that office, and I was ready to get back on the road. So I went back to the firm I'd been with and traveled doing bank directors examinations and external audits again. And went back to the western U.S. and traveled all over doing that. There's Sparky, the climbing dog, right there. Then a point came, I decided to start my own auditing firm. And that's all I did, was financial institution. Again, it was my background that I really enjoyed. I enjoyed auditing insurance companies, which I did them all: life, A&H, health, credit insurance, just anything you can think of, bonding, bonds. And I'd also done banks, a lot of banks, and credit unions. And I was always interested in risk and quantifying risk, and even came up with my own loan pricing formula to price loans based on credit scores and risk. There's others that done it, gave me the idea, but I thought they were wrong on their fundamental assumptions, so I did my own that I thought was more realistic. And then that was the same in insurance. You're quantifying risk, the actuaries are, and so that's what I liked. And I started my own auditing firm. I'm now a retired CPA, but I went out and traveled again and audited, which is an agreed upon procedures, director's exams, which there's state requirements on those, what procedures you use. And traveled again, hiked and climbed more of the Rocky Mountains and out west in the Great Plains, even hiked the Great Plains. And I really into that. I wanted to hike every type of ecosystem, and then the varieties of ecosystems within that, southern mountains versus northern mountains, or southern high plains versus northern high plains, all that. So traveling like that enabled me to do that. So I did that, had my own auditing firm until I retired, mainly due to health reasons. And I started phasing out about the time of the financial crisis in 2008 and 9. I went through as an auditor the 1980s banking crisis and the ag crisis and the oil bust, and lived through all that and saw banks fail, even audited banks, where basically, in our comments and overview, we'd have to say, there was a going concern issue, and they didn't make it, and they would fail. And went through all that, and the FDIC and the Resolution Trust Corporation and the liquidation of banks, a little bit on the S&L side back then, but more pretty much banks. And then we got to the 2008-2009 financial crisis. I was not traveling as much during the 2008-2009, the ongoing financial crisis, and I wrote and had always studied economics, even kept my own economics charts, just try to gain more insight. And I did back then especially, and I covered as an analyst banks, the 10 largest banks, and I also did the 10 largest by market cap tech companies. I was interested in that also, and got more into the markets and stocks, and up to a point with bonds and commodities. And I wrote a number of articles and was linked to in the Wall Street Journal and some Dow Jones websites, and some other known financial websites. Um, you know, got to be known to an extent, noticed by others, and it was because I had done all this research and was trying to figure out what had happened as well as where we were and where we were going back during the financial meltdown. But I hadn't written much in the last few years because of health issues, and I thought, well, I could start out with videos. I have the means to do that, and I still do some charts, and I thought, well, I could do videos and then put my charts on the videos and talk about some of the things going on, such as with the GDP or some bank financial performance and stock market performance and just different mainly USA economic metrics and kind of what's going on. And of course we have Trump now coming in, and we have a new factor to the formula. I will say I wasn't for Hillary or Trump. I just couldn't get excited about either one. However, I did agree with Trump on trade, and I felt like Hillary and Obama both, and that TPP was a horrible idea. And if you'll remember, he was elected on Tuesday. I think it was about Thursday. He said he would stop TPP, and when he did that, Obama stopped pushing it in Congress. They were going to get that through right now as the lame duck session comes in, and I thoroughly believe they were trying to get it through before Hillary, if she had won, and then she wouldn't have to take the heat on it. And she was going to, and even if they didn't, she was going to flip-flop on that. She had, spoke 44 or 5 times about endorsing TPP, and it was the gold standard of trade deals, and it was only after Bernie and the Democratic primary she finally flipped over against it, but I didn't believe her on that. And so I do agree with Trump on jobs and trade, and there's a lot of people that do. And we got to stop the outflow, and we need to start taking care of ourselves. And so I do agree with him on that, and you take the good with the bad, and if he'll do that, he can truly have an impact on this country, and I hope it is a positive impact on the jobs. We need to get those jobs back and quit shipping them out to China and Mexico and elsewhere. My political worldview, I was originally what I call a 1980s, the 80s moderate Republican, and was actually involved in Republican politics back then. And the thing, I agreed with the Democrats on some things, but I agreed with the Republicans on others at that time. And the thing that kept me as a Republican was fiscal conservatism. You didn't run up the national debt. And the only time you did was in a war, when it was absolutely for survival. You just didn't run up the debt. And actually Reagan did this a little bit, but of course it blew up in the 90s and 2000s, the debt, and we're almost to 20 trillion in debt, which is a joke. And I waited in the Republican primaries. The debt was never brought up except by Rand Paul, who's a libertarian. No one wanted to talk about that. And I thought, boy, how far we've come. That was a huge talking point for the Republicans in the 80s and into the 90s and even into the 2000s. All of a sudden now, I'll let you spend money, just like the Democrats, and the Republicans have ran up all this debt under Bush, and and now Obama, of course, has ran it up more, and it started in the 90s and Clinton, and so, it's like we're going to ignore the elephant in the room, the 20 trillion national debt, and just go on about our business. Well, I have a feeling at some point the national debt will make us its business. And that day's coming. I call it the day of reckoning. And I was wrong in my estimates. I thought it would have happened by now, that day of reckoning. I think with this increase in interest rates, if we truly are going into a bond bear market, which means the value of bonds goes down, the interest rates go up, that day of reckoning will be ushered in, because more and more the budget goes to debt service, the interest service, to paying the interest on the debt. And I tell you what, when you owe $20 trillion, it doesn't take much of an uptick in interest to have a big time interest expense. I've done spreadsheets on it. I'll post some sometime. I just want to kind of let you know who I was and get this out here. And I also think the beginning of the end on jobs was Bill Clinton and NAFTA. And apparently H.W. Bush actually crafted that as a Republican, but they didn't think it could get through. And it was Clinton and the Democrats that pushed through the trade, NAFTA. So my point is I'm at this point more nonpartisan and skeptical and a cynic of both parties. And so if you're looking somebody beat the drum for the Democrats or the Republicans, you're on the wrong YouTube channel. If either party does something good, I'll be happy to point it out from an economic standpoint. I'm not going to go into social issues. But, mostly they're pretty much screwing us every chance they get. And you better wake up. And either party is more than capable of making you work harder for less and taking more of what you actually do earn.